Disgusting. Fucking disgusting pieces of dirt.
I mean, you got to just realize what's going to happen here. Is Jay-Z going to do anything to Nicki Minaj? She's making it very clear on what she's coming out with. So this is the part that you got to watch very closely on how Trump's handled this. Now, don't get me wrong. We've seen the clips that there was a relationship, that they would talk and the exchange and all this other stuff. Yes.
The conflict didn't just flare up. It escalated into something far bigger than a typical celebrity spat. What many first dismissed as another online outburst has evolved into a layered controversy involving music industry power players, old feuds, financial claims, and deeply personal histories. At the center of it all are Nicki Minaj and Wendy Williams, with Jay-Z looming in the background. It began years ago when Wendy Williams publicly criticized Minaj's marriage to Kenneth Petty, highlighting his past conviction on air. The commentary shifted what had been celebratory news into a reputational flashpoint. Minaj didn't respond quietly. On her platform, she forcefully defended her husband and attacked Wendy's personal life in return. What could have remained tabloid fodder hardened into a lasting feud. But the story didn't stop there.
Well, y'all, Nicki Minaj is back on X, and she's coming for Jay-Z. So in a series of tweets, Nicki Minaj is claiming that Jay-Z owes her $100 to $200 million so far.
Recently, Minaj stunned fans by threatening to withhold her upcoming album and directly tagging Jay-Z in posts alleging financial disputes connected to streaming platform ownership and past business dealings. She referenced large sums of money, figures in the hundreds of millions, implying unresolved stakes tied to the sale of Tidal. While no official documentation has publicly confirmed her claims, the accusations escalated the situation from personal grievance to corporate-level conflict. Then came Grammy night. Minaj criticized the awards show, calling it corrupt and spiritually compromised. She revived old photographs and long-circulated rumors involving Jay-Z and other artists, reframing her dispute as moral whistleblowing rather than industry politics. No official response came from Jay-Z, Roc Nation, or the Recording Academy. The silence became part of the narrative. At the same time, critics resurfaced painful aspects of Minaj's own family history, including her brother's criminal conviction and her husband's past, arguing that her moral accusations exposed contradictions. Sympathy fractured. What once looked like rebellion, beggar.
They looking good, breaking records, you going viral for having a weird-shaped ass, and you ain't dropped no music that's doing well in a long time, and now you're no longer the reigning queen of anything. That's now debatable.
But nah,
she acting up. She don't know how to handle it. If you a queen sitting on the top of the world, bro, for 15 years with Lil Wayne and Drake, unopposed. That's like you running your hood for a decade, 15 years, and then a group of little young get the cracking, and you like,
yeah, but you
pay no homage.
Meanwhile, Wendy Williams' own life has taken a dramatic turn. In 2000, she was placed under court-appointed guardianship. In 2024, it was revealed she had been diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia and progressive aphasia. She has publicly described her assisted living situation as restrictive, while her guardian maintains the arrangement is for her safety. The woman who once controlled narratives daily on television is now fighting for control over her own. The uncomfortable symmetry is striking. Both women built brands on confrontation, both challenged powerful figures, both now frame themselves as fighting systems larger than them. And both have seen their credibility questioned at pivotal moments. Industry observers point out that when disputes involve major financial claims and influential executives, silence is often strategic. Contracts are negotiated privately. Legal matters rarely unfold on social media. But in today's climate, perception can move faster than paperwork. There are competing interpretations. Is Minaj exposing legitimate grievances about industry control and profit distribution? Or is escalating publicly narrowing her strategic leverage? Is Wendy Williams being protected due to documented health concerns? Or is the guardianship system overly restrictive and difficult to reverse? What's clear is this: reputation, money, and control are at the core of the situation. When artists challenge institutions like major record companies, award shows, or media structures, the response is rarely loud. It's often procedural. At the same time, not every consequence stems from conspiracy. Public accusations carry risk. Past controversies resurface quickly. In the digital era, narratives don't disappear, they compound. What makes this moment volatile isn't just what's being said, it's what isn't. Jay-Z hasn't publicly addressed the allegations. The Grammys haven't responded to the ritual claim. Guardianship courts don't debate cases on social media. The vacuum invites.
How she feels. She feels like blogs and online platforms don't touch what she's saying, and they don't cover all of her words fully because it's Jay-Z and Roc Nation.
Well, I'll tell you this. I have no idea about their business, but if someone owed me $200 million, then I would be in court, not on X. And I guarantee you, if she ever took that to court, that would be a huge...
In the end, this isn't a simple feud. It's a collision of celebrity power, personal history, financial disputes, health realities, and public perception. Whether this becomes a turning point or just another chapter in a long-running saga depends on what happens next, and whether the conversation shifts from accusation to resolution. The story is still unfolding. The escalation didn't happen in a vacuum. It followed a pattern. After years of navigating criticism with calculated confidence, Nicki Minaj shifted from lyrical warfare to institutional confrontation. That's a different battlefield. Diss tracks are part of hip-hop culture. Publicly accusing industry power centers of corruption, financial manipulation, or moral rot is something else entirely. When she began naming Jay-Z directly and referencing massive financial figures tied to Tidal's sale, the tone changed from emotional reaction to corporate allegation. Claims involving nine-figure stakes aren't social media drama. They imply contracts, equity splits, shareholder structures, and legal agreements. Without documented filings or lawsuits to support them publicly, the accusations live in a grey zone, serious enough to rattle investors, but untested in court. Silence from Roc Nation and Jay-Z's camp is significant. In high-level disputes, silence can serve multiple purposes. Avoid amplifying claims, protect ongoing negotiations, reduce legal exposure, preserve brand equity. In business, sometimes the loudest move is restraint. Meanwhile, Minaj's Grammy criticism reframed her position from artist in dispute to moral critic of the system. Calling the awards ceremony corrupt or spiritually compromised wasn't just venting, it repositioned her as someone challenging legitimacy itself. Institutions rarely respond to spiritual or symbolic accusations, they respond to lawsuits. That difference matters. At the same time, critics highlighted contradictions as Minaj accused industry figures of shielding harmful behavior past
Nicki Minaj, she went on another Twitter rant. She still got Jay-Z and Roc Nation in every tweet. She be wilding on them. I ain't gonna lie, I ain't never seen nobody come at Jay-Z this hard.
Years ago, Wendy did what she was known for, stating uncomfortable facts bluntly. Her commentary about Kenneth Petty's criminal history ignited humiliation that played out publicly. For a brand built on dominance and control, that kind of exposure cuts deep. Fast forward to Wendy's guardianship. The power dynamic has inverted. The woman who once dissected celebrities daily now has her cognitive health debated in legal filings. A diagnosis of frontotemporal dementia changed the narrative from controversy to medical vulnerability. Supporters argue she deserves autonomy. Guardians argue protection is necessary. The public can't see the full medical record, only fragments filtered through court updates and documentaries. Here's where the symmetry becomes uncomfortable. Minaj claims institutional sabotage. Wendy claims institutional confinement. Both frame themselves as battling systems. Both face credibility challenges at the same time. The industry runs on risk assessment. Executives calculate exposure, liability, profitability. When an artist becomes unpredictable, legally or reputationally, partnerships tighten, release schedules stall, negotiations harden. That doesn't automatically prove retaliation. It reflects risk management. There's also a psychological layer. When public figures start using language like surveillance, moles, sabotage, or ritual, it shifts how neutral observers interpret their claims. Even legitimate grievances can lose traction if delivery feels volatile. Messaging matters as much as evidence, but here's the nuance many ignore. Pressure and paranoia can look identical from the outside. An artist facing real contractual frustration may speak urgently. An artist feeling isolated may escalate publicly. Both scenarios produce similar optics. And the political pivot added another dimension. By aligning publicly with controversial political figures and urging specific voting behavior, Minaj reshaped her coalition. That decision may have energized some.
John Legend, Billie Eilish, Phineas, Nicki Minaj is not here. She is not here. She is still at the White House with Donald Trump discussing very important issues.
So what are we actually looking at? Possibilities include a high-stakes contractual dispute spilling into public view, an artist using pressure tactics to renegotiate leverage, institutions quietly waiting out volatility, a convergence of personal stress and professional frustration, a narrative amplified by social media faster than facts can be verified. What makes it combustible is timing. financial accusations, family history resurfacing, health diagnoses, album delays, political statements, all colliding at once. And still, no formal lawsuits, no official press conferences, no detailed rebuttals, just posts, silence, and commentary. In power conflicts,
looks at Wendy and says, you know, you had a great career. Your career is over. It is never coming back. You're done. Why would a judge...
Silence isn't always weakness. Sometimes it's calculation, sometimes it's legal strategy, and sometimes it's simply refusal to engage. The deeper question isn't who shouted louder, it's who holds structural control. Who controls distribution? Who controls contracts? Who controls guardianship rulings? Who controls narrative amplification? Allegation versus reputation, allegation versus silence, sympathy versus skepticism. And until documentation replaces implication, the situation will remain suspended between whistleblowing and self-destruction, depending entirely on which lens the audience chooses to look through. This isn't over, not legally, not reputationally, not strategically. The next move, whether it's a lawsuit, an album drop, a court decision, or continued silence, will determine whether this was a calculated pressure play or the beginning of something far harder to reverse. What makes this saga even more complex isn't just what was said, it's the structure surrounding it. When Nicki Minaj publicly tied her album delay to alleged sabotage and unresolved financial issues, she shifted from artist to accuser. That's a risky transformation. In entertainment, disputes are usually handled in boardrooms, not timelines. Once accusations go public,
I've always spoken to her, and she's always wanted me to spend her money.
If Minaj truly believes she is owed substantial equity from past deals, the typical path would involve audits, arbitration, or litigation. Public escalation can apply pressure, but it can also complicate negotiations. When allegations include words like corruption, predator, or ritual, they cross from financial disagreement into reputational attack. At that level, legal risk increases for everyone involved. Meanwhile, Jay-Z represents more than an individual. He represents infrastructure. Roc Nation manages artists, athletes, corporate partnerships. It operates inside systems built on contracts and long-term alliances. Institutions of that size rarely respond emotionally. Their power is procedural. Silence in this context can mean, we don't validate this publicly. If there's a dispute, it will be handled legally. Escalation benefits no one. But silence also creates space for speculation. Now layer in Wendy Williams again. Years ago, Wendy's power came from exposure. She thrived on saying the uncomfortable part out loud. When she highlighted Kenneth Petty's criminal history days after Minaj's wedding, it wasn't rumor, it was documented fact delivered with biting commentary. That moment shifted public conversation from romance to liability. Fast forward, Wendy is under guardianship, diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia. She insists she feels confined. Supporters question whether guardianship systems can become overly restrictive. Courts argue medical evidence justifies oversight. The irony is sharp. One woman is fighting contracts. The other is fighting conservatorship. Both claim loss of control. Both built careers on control. And here's the deeper layer most people miss. The industry doesn't revolve around morality, it revolves around predictability. Labels, management firms, streaming platforms and sponsors calculate risk. If an artist appears volatile or legally exposed, risk increases. If a media figure's health becomes uncertain, liability increases. Instead, that tightening can look like delayed releases, reduced promotional support, contract renegotiations, court oversight extensions. To supporters, that looks like suppression. To institutions, that looks like management. The political dimension intensified everything. When Minaj aligned herself with controversial political figures and urged certain voting behavior, she fractured her fanbase. In a polarized climate, political identity affects brand partnerships. That doesn't mean someone is silenced for their views, but it does mean corporate alignment shifts. Then there's social media itself. Algorithms reward escalation. Calm statements don't trend. Explosive accusations do. Each post becomes a feedback loop. Supporters amplify, critics counter, media blogs summarize, and narrative snowballs. Even if a dispute began privately, once it hits timelines, it becomes performative. But here's the uncomfortable truth. It's possible for multiple things to be true at once. An artist can feel genuinely wronged. That same artist can damage her leverage by escalating publicly. A guardianship can be medically justified. That same guardianship can feel imprisoning to the person inside it. Institutions can protect themselves. Institutions can also protect vulnerable individuals. Reality doesn't always divide cleanly into villain and victim. The most telling factor right now is documentation, or lack of it. No public lawsuit has surfaced confirming a $100, $200 million claim. No formal defamation case has followed the predator accusation. No emergency court ruling has dissolved Wendy's guardianship. That absence doesn't prove innocence or guilt. It suggests that the real actions, if any, are happening off camera.
I'm thinking it's going to have to start with an exorcism.
Oh
Exorcism.
my God,
It's
dang.
Roman,
You think
and
she
there's a lot of-
possessed?
What y'all think?
I don't think an exorcism is needed.
I thought maybe a benefit concert. But
start.
I also talked.
Donation, definitely. Donation.
Of course,
always start
you
with a
have
donation.
to. Yeah, that's the foundation of the start.
Donation.
And then you guys said,
Zoom out even further, and the situation starts to look less like a single feud and more like a stress test of celebrity power in the digital age. Nicki Minaj isn't just another artist airing frustration. She's a veteran with a decade plus of chart dominance, brand partnerships, and cultural influence. When someone at that level publicly suggests financial wrongdoing or institutional sabotage, it's not just gossip, it touches investor confidence, corporate reputations, and contractual ecosystems. But here's the paradox: power in entertainment is layered. An artist can be globally famous, yet still bound tightly by distribution agreements, touring contracts, publishing splits, equity structures, brand clauses. Creative dominance does not automatically equal structural control. So, when Minaj implies she's being financially sidelined or strategically stalled, observers split into camps. Camp A: she's applying pressure to renegotiate leverage. Camp B: she's spiraling publicly and weakening her own bargaining position. Both interpretations can coexist. Public escalation is a high-risk tactic. It can rally fans, force media coverage, signal seriousness, but it can also alarm business partners, trigger legal review, narrow negotiation flexibility. Now consider Jay-Z not as a rapper, but as infrastructure. His empire intersects with management, licensing, streaming, sports, and corporate alliances. Infrastructure survives by being steady. It rarely engages in emotional exchange, because emotional exchange creates discovery risk, and discovery risk invites legal exposure. Silence from that level isn't dramatic, it's procedural. Meanwhile, Wendy Williams represents a different kind of power: narrative power. For decades, she influenced reputations simply by speaking. When she criticized Minaj's marriage, she used her core weapon: public framing. But now, Wendy's battle isn't with celebrities. It's with guardianship law. And guardianship law doesn't respond to charisma or fan campaigns. It responds to med.
Apparently, Nicki Minaj has dragged Jay-Z to filth. She blasts him for being evil and spiteful.
To medical documentation and judicial rulings. That contrast matters. Minaj's conflict plays out in corporate arenas. Wendy's plays out in probate court. Both unfold in public perception simultaneously. And that convergence creates something volatile. The optics of two women who once dominated conversations, now fighting systems that don't operate emotionally. Another overlooked layer is brand economics. Minaj's brand historically thrived on dominance, confidence, fearlessness. Strategic aggression: when that aggression turns toward institutions rather than rivals, the stakes increase. Corporations don't clap back, they reassess risk. Endorsements depend on predictability. Tour insurance depends on stability. Streaming partnerships depend on cooperation. If controversy appears uncontrollable, the cost of association rises. But there's also the opposite possibility: controversy sustains relevance. In the streaming era, attention equals currency. Every headline keeps algorithms alive. Every feud sustains engagement. Silence, ironically, can hurt visibility more than chaos. So is this destruction or strategy? Now factor in psychology without diagnosing anyone. Long-term fame isolates. Financial disputes exhaust. Public scrutiny amplifies stress. When someone feels cornered, their communication style often sharpens. What reads as paranoia externally can internally feel like self-defense. The problem is that language shapes perception. Words like sabotage, moles, or ritual push audiences towards skepticism, even if underlying frustrations are real. For Wendy, the tragedy is different. Guardianship is one of the most difficult legal structures to exit once formalized. Even if someone appears lucid in interviews, courts rely on clinical evaluations and fiduciary concerns. Public support cannot override medical testimony. That creates a sense of helplessness that can feel existential. And here's the uncomfortable mirror. Minaj says the industry controls her output. Wendy says the court controls